Welcome everyone to another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on my channel GBoot2786. We are live, and I'm coming at you with 5. Our special guest, of course, is brother Shawn James. Oh, I forgot the other part of my intro. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. Now, you guys know this next guest. Now we get to our guest now. Our brother and friend to the show, Shawn James, out of New York. Which area of New York is it again? Is it Bronx or?
I'm from the Bronx.
This next guest. Oh, okay. Hold on, I got feedback.
Our brother
Sorry.
and friend to the show.
Sometimes I play the. I had the other screen open right there. You're from where?
I am from the Bronx.
From the Bronx. All right. I got a question I want to ask you about tonight. There's a topic that we're going to get into with regards to that. Regarding the death of Yusef Hawkins. I'm sure you may have remembered that as a kid.
I do. It happened when I was 15 years old. I mean, 16, okay. Really.
Yeah, I definitely want to ask you about it because I saw somewhere, and I don't want to talk about it just yet, but we're going to talk about it a little bit because just remind me because I saw something that was real interesting or some news that came out. Far Side fan says the Bronx, New York. All right. Far Side is from the Bronx too?
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Now he's one of your fans, man.
Yeah, he's one of my regular viewers. I'm glad to see him here.
I'm glad to see him here too. Thank you, Far Side. Appreciate it. So, yeah, there y'all go. Link up. Earlier today, Shawn, I don't know the big story of today, especially in the sports world. I don't know if you follow sports too much. I assume that you don't. But it says here that the NBA teams are boycotting the playoffs after the Jacob Blake shooting. It was reported earlier today around 3 o'clock p.m. that the Milwaukee Bucks was in conversations with the Orlando Magic, who are their opponents, I believe, tonight. And they were discussing back and forth whether or not they would be protesting this game. I'm actually going to share with you some audio from that protest if you want everybody to check it out, and a couple of other things too. So first, sorry about that, guys. I got kicked out for some reason. I don't know what happened.
Well, these glitches do happen.
Yeah, I think they're trying to stop us. But Farside says, where are you from, Gavin? I'm from New Orleans. I'm currently right now, we are just sitting here waiting for Laura. Although Laura's passed us by, thank goodness. We pray for the people in Lake Charles and as well as Texas, that area that's about to get hit right now. So sorry about that, guys. But let me put that up again. This was from earlier today, our topic with regards to NBA athletes. They're boycotting the playoffs tonight. In fact, after they did that, the other teams that were set to play tonight also boycotted as well. I'm just trying to play that video if you give me a second. But while I'm right here, let me ask you, Shawn, do you follow sports? I'm just curious.
I stopped following sports. I used to follow it with my cousin many years ago, back in the 90s. But after Michael Jordan retired and the Yankees, the era of the Yankees, the dynasty ended, I just stopped paying it any attention. I'm usually focused primarily on my books most of the time.
Sorry that it took. Right. Okay. Yeah. That's understandable because you're not really missing anything. And I mean, with sports today, it's basically, I've looked at it as a distraction for the most part from some stuff. I still watch it every now and then, but it doesn't even end, especially with everything that's happened in the news recently is just like it doesn't really catch a lot of people's interest.
Yeah.
Like
So much is going on that it's hard to pay attention to most sports.
Okay, I'm having a little technical difficulty. I don't know what the hell is going on. It seems like Google Chrome is giving me some issues. Hold on a second. We're going to try it again. If you guys got questions that you want me to ask Shawn, please leave them in the chat box. Also, Shawn, why don't you take this time while I'm trying to do this, plug in some of your books. I know you got Eternal Night coming out in October.
Yeah, and I finally have the I just got the proof copies in the mail today, and that's what I've got right now in my hands. I have the proof copy of Eternal Night. This is going to be coming out this Halloween, and I'm going to leave a link to it in the chat so you can pre-order your copy in Kindle, but the paperback is coming this October 31st, and that is a vampire story set in the SJS Direct universe. So you guys can go out here and pre-order Eternal Night right now. And
Shawn, you still there?
I'm still here. Just typing in pre-order in the chat. And you can also get Easting Blast from the Past. And this is the Easting book for 2020. And this one features a bonus of the Easting No Good Deed comic strip by Bill Walko. This is a sneak peek of what I would offer in an ISIS graphic novel. This would be one of the stories featured in the ISIS graphic novel. I did this art to celebrate the 10th anniversary of SJS Direct, and I also did it so that I could start looking to raise funds in an Indiegogo for an upcoming ISIS graphic novel. So I wanted people to get a sneak peek of what they would get if they would pledge to support an ISIS graphic novel, and that's all featured in the back of Easting Blast from the Past, which features two stories. It features Easting Blast from the Past, the story where the Devilish Diva takes on, well, not the Devilish Diva, Hell's Aspiring Angel takes on her demonic doppelganger from the past, and it also features the Easting No Good Deed comic strip. So you get two stories in one in November. This book is coming out on Black Friday, and you definitely don't want to miss it. So I'm going to leave a link to Easting Blast from the Past in the chat, and you can pre-order that book too. Those are the two books that are part of the SJS Direct Fall catalog, which is starting this Halloween. So this Halloween, you've got the start with Easting Blast from the Past, and not Easting Blast, Eternal Night.
Eternal Night, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, Eternal Night is Halloween, and Blast from the Past is in November.
All right, most definitely. And I have a book that I'm working on that's taking a little time, but I should have that out before the end of the year. You guys will check it out. It'll be really. I'm pushing for a fall release. So once I finish everything, I hope to finish.
And you can also pick up the spring books, which was John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose, and ISIS, The Main Event right now on Amazon right now. So you get these two right now. You can get Eternal Night on Halloween, and you can get Blast from the Past this November. So these are the 4 books of the 2020 catalog, and you'll be able to pick up 2 right now and 2 this fall.
Yeah. Also, guys, check out the book, The Man Crisis. I'm already 22 chapters in right now. It's pretty good. That Shawn wrote. The Man Crisis. You can pick that up on Amazon.com. And also check out my book, Katrina, Eyes Have Not Seen, Ears Have Not Heard, which is also available on Amazon.com as well. And so I'm got that video up. This is actually where you can get The Temptation of John Haynes. What's up, Ajike? You can check that out as well. So that's Shawn's book. But this is the video, Shawn, from the Milwaukee Bucks players today. So you guys can check it out. I'm trying to make sure everybody gets a chance to see it and hear it. Let me know if y'all can hear it when I play it. Okay?
Stay here with us. We're sorry that it took a little bit more time, but we thought it would be best for us as a team to brainstorm a little bit, educate ourselves, and not rushing to the wrong emotion, giving you guys things like that. So, on behalf of ourselves and our team, we're going to place a statement as a team today and go back and continue to educate ourselves and get better awareness of what's going on. And we'll speak to you guys later. So we'll come up with a statement now.
Our team statement. The past 4 months have shed a light on the ongoing racial injustices facing our African American community. Citizens around the country have used their voices and platforms to speak out against these wrongdoings. Over the last few days in our home state of Wisconsin, we've seen the horrendous video of Jacob Blake being shot in the back 7 times by a police officer in Kenosha, and the additional shooting of protesters. Despite the overwhelming plea for change, there has been no action. So our focus today cannot be on basketball.
When we take the court and represent Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we are expected to play at a high level, give maximum effort, and hold each other accountable. We hold ourselves to that standard, and in this moment, we are demanding the same from lawmakers and law enforcement. We are calling for justice for Jacob Blake and demand the officer be held accountable. For this to occur, it is imperative for the Wisconsin State Legislature to reconvene after months of inaction and take up meaningful measures to address issues of police accountability, brutality, and criminal justice reform. We encourage all citizens to educate themselves, take peaceful and responsible action, and remember to vote on November 3rd on behalf of Milwaukee Bucks. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was the Milwaukee Bucks, and of course, earlier today, if I can find the damn video, I'm gonna have to upload it again. LeBron James, it was actually yesterday. LeBron James, Chris Paul left some similar messages with regards to the same statements, their same sentiments. LeBron, of course, tweeted out something. I'm doing fine at GK. I got to shout out her because that's my girl there. LeBron James actually tweeted this. Let me see if I can pull it up, guys. Sorry. I had everything up until my Google Chrome crashed right there. So hold on one second. Okay. So LeBron tweeted, "Fuck this man. We demand change. Sick of it." This was the tweet that was made earlier. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, I can pull it up, of course. And and you have all of these guys that are protesting, walking out. Of course, LeBron James said the same thing with regards to the voting aspect of it. I want to ask you, Shawn, what are your thoughts on the NBA players protesting tonight?
Well, I believe that they are justified to go out here and protest. That's part of their constitutional rights here in America. And they have a reason to protest because after the international outrage of the murder of George Floyd, it looks like nothing has really changed. And nothing really did change because all we got were a whole bunch of empty symbolic gestures meant to pacify people. But unfortunately, those empty gestures show us that nothing has really changed about that culture of blue. And that culture of blue is the reason why this man wound up getting shot. And one of the reasons, because they did use excessive force, as we saw in the video. And it was just like business as usual went on when it came down to these police officers. They didn't really take any sort of critical examination, as I saw, from their actions as regarding the I forgot his name. I did a video on him.
Jacob Blake?
Yeah, Jacob Blake, because they made no efforts to try to even look at this situation and say, hey, after the murder of George Floyd, we really need to start changing our actions. They just went back to business as usual. And again, it shows me how they just disregarded all of these international protests and just didn't care. So I can understand these NBA players' frustrations, but one of the things that I see here that's a positive is that more black men are getting engaged. Before, we had the black women and the Black Lives Matter people coming into the situation, but with these black men stepping in, we might actually see somebody actually hearing about the real issues that black men go through, because it needed to be black men at the forefront of this issue, discussing our issues, because police brutality, racial profiling, and these race terrorism, as I see it. This is something black men have to deal with every day, and this is not changing because black men are not speaking on our issues. So this protest, as I see it, was a justified one because how can they sit there and play basketball representing the Milwaukee team when the Milwaukee Police Department makes it where it's not safe for a black man to go outside? So these same, these same players who are representing Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and this Kenosha town, what happens is these guys can't even go into those towns and feel safe because they have to look over their shoulder. And I know what that is as a black man. You have to keep looking over your shoulder and worrying about whether either Pookie and Ray Ray are going to get you or one of these race soldier police officers is going to get you. And it's a very disconcerting thing to have to live with every day when you're a black man. And these black men just stood up and just said, look, there's no time for playing basketball. It's no time for us to entertain people when you have a black man who has practically been paralyzed and shot, and then you have riots going on. And I can understand they're justified in their protest, and they are looking at how appropriate this is. I mean, how can you sit there and entertain all of these people when a black man is still has a life that has no value in this country outside of what it provides entertainment for white supremacists?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think other athletes from other athletes from other organizations like the NFL or the black athletes in the NFL are going to file suit?
I believe they should file suit because the only way for these people in America and the globe to understand the impact of racial profiling on black men and police brutality and police violence is for black men to start standing up and saying that their lives matter by going out here and saying, look, we're going to go out here and protest as related to them. So black men standing up is us speaking this time. And that's something that we need to do because it's obvious after the international outrage for George Floyd, nobody is getting the message. And maybe if these NBA owners, these NFL owners, these MLB owners start taking losses, they'll start taking the issue of police brutality and racial profiling more seriously, because it seems like when you hit these guys in the wallet, then they want to start listening to black people.
One of my biggest issues, though, and I'm going to play this video, I think this is it, is that they try to tie it. You know, I listened to LeBron, and you'll hear this. I think this is the video. But LeBron and Chris Paul yesterday, and I did a video on this, were trying to tie it back to voting. And you heard that from the Milwaukee Bucks players as well. I just want to play this clip right now with LeBron, and then we'll get into that.
There was no way to.
Can anybody hear?
That gentleman.
I can hear it.
Or detain him, or to just before the firing of guns. Then you sit here and you lying to not only me, you lying to every African American, every black person in the community, because we see it over and over and over. There was multiple. If you watch the video, there was multiple moments where if they wanted to, they could have happened. You know, they could have done that. And why does it always have to get to a point where we see the guns fired? And his family is there, the kids are there. It's broad daylight, and who knows? I mean, if that video is not being taken by that person across the street, do we even know if we can see that video? There's like talks about that the cops didn't even have their body cams on. That's a possibility. It's just quite frankly, it's just fun in our community. And us, people get tired of hearing me say it, but we are scared as black people in America. Black men, black women, black kids, we are terrified. You don't know. You have no idea. You have no idea how that cop that day left the house. You don't know if he walked on the good side of the bed, you don't know if he walked on the wrong side of the bed. you know, if he had an argument at home with a significant other, you know, if one of his kids said something crazy to him and he left the house steaming, or maybe he just left the house saying that today is going to be the end for one of these black people. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. It hurts. It hurts. And it's just through the grace of God that he's still living. 7 shots, close range, and he's still alive. That's through the grace of God right here. And my prayers goes out to that family and that community. But I got nothing nice to say about this trial.
All right. Well, spoken from LeBron James. That
in our community. And us.
It's playing. That's another video. It plays automatically from time to time. But that was LeBron James, you guys. Shawn, obviously, he was frustrated. You know, Doc Rivers even spoke after the game, and I was listening to what he had to say as well. And, of course, he was frustrated with it. I do want to, and I'm going to play this clip also from Chris Paul because I want everybody to just hear what I'm saying, because it wasn't stressing the there was another video of LeBron where he was talking about after the game and about voting, and there's a reason why I'm getting to that. But this is a video from, this is now Chris Paul.
The series is tied now. What did you find?
Y'all will hear it in a second.
You guys pull away?
I don't know. That's all going well. I just want to send my prayers out to Jacob Blake and their family. You know, the things that, you know, we decided to come down here to play for, and we said we're going to speak on the social injustice and the things that continue to happen. You know, to our people, it's not right. It's not right. So the win is good, you know, but voting is real. I'm going to challenge all my NBA guys, other sports guys. Let's try to get our entire team registered to vote. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff going on in the country. Sports, the schools doing well, so we take care of our families. Those are the real issues that we got to start addressing.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. And your head coach actually talked about you being a leader and the ability to compartmentalize, especially during the time off when you had to help with the Players Association to get us all here to play these games. Focus on your family, focus on yourself, and just now you just mentioned it. Focus on activism. How are you able to do that?
Man, I got an unbelievable support system and an unbelievable team. I'm grateful to Coach. You know, our team walked through this morning. Coach didn't just talk about the game. You know, he talked about the social injustice and the things that's going on and told us to, you know, let's come out and win the game, but remember what we're here for. So shout out to Oklahoma City, the Thunder. They've been unbelievable. We just happy that even the series up 2-2. So
thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you always.
All right. So that's Chris Paul.
About an incredibly sad situation in Wisconsin, and social justice issues front and center. Basketball could be the toy department of life, but we got the real world too.
Okay, and that, no, not pain and gain. I was trying to play LeBron James's video, but what I wanted to ask you is do you think this is something, Shawn, that black people can vote?
We really can't vote.
Because it seems like I listen to LeBron James and I've listened to Paul. I'm sorry?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to get started, but I'll break my point down right now. We really can't vote this type of change into place because we've been voting for over 100 years and we still have the same issues with these race soldiers, and they've gotten worse because these Ku Klux Klansmen and white supremacists are now a part of the police department, and they are now turning the blue culture into a white supremacist culture. So we've been trying to vote this whole thing away, but you cannot really vote this type of culture out of the police department because this is an ingrained culture that comes from these officers' training. It's ingrained in their training, these attitudes and viewpoints about black people. And because there are some black officers that have these same ideas and notions because they were brainwashed into this blue culture. So to think you can just vote this away is just a foolish notion because all you do with voting for one political party or the other is get one side that either supports these type of rogue officers openly or one that supports them covertly. And this doesn't really lead to any change. And then you really, again, need a black agenda to get change in the black community. Because if you have a black agenda where you're focused on rebuilding the black community and really rebuilding this black man so he can take leadership of the black community, then you don't need these police officers to patrol black communities, because if you have fathers in the community, then they can provide the protection, the first line of defense, and they can go out here and solve a lot of the problems that go on, so the point where we really don't need so many police patrolling our communities. We can do this on our own, but the whole thing is everybody thinks politicians and the government can come in and fix it, but no, they can't fix it. What we have that needs to be done, again, is investment in black men so they can be fathers and they can take care of the community. But to think a politician can come in and vote this away, no, this is ingrained in our culture. This is ingrained in police culture. And these ideas about black people, they go way past slavery, these notions and ideas that these police officers have. These are many of the same attitudes that the patrollers had during slave times regarding black people. And this is something, again, that cannot really be voted out, because it's a culture that is a part of police culture and also a part of American culture.
Most definitely. And certainly, I think when they always talk about voting, one thing I hate is when they try to, I guess, make it like voting is the salvation of Black America, to vote for a Democrat, because that's basically what these guys hint at when they do that. And I'm not saying that LeBron James is a bad guy. I'm not saying Chris Paul is bad. I've met Chris Paul actually when he played for, it was the New Orleans Hornets at the time. Before it became the Pelicans, and he was a real cool dude. But when these guys get up there, I take celebrities, basically what they say, I take it for a grain of salt. Mainly because most of the time I think that they're doing it for corporate interests. Corporations guide them to say certain things. That's not to say that these guys don't feel what they feel in their heart. I do applaud them for boycotting the NBA games, most definitely. I didn't think this was something that would have been done beforehand, because remember a few years ago when Donald Sterling got caught making those racial remarks about black people and black people attending his games and so forth, basically talking like a slave owner. The LA Clippers, which Chris Paul happened to play for at that time, along with Blake Griffin, their sign of protest was flipping their clothes inside out. I don't know if you remember that or saw that, but I remember it distinctly. And, that was the best that you guys could do. The playoffs were there. The championship obviously wasn't on the line. I wonder, though, would these guys have done that if it was Game 7 of the finals?
I doubt they would have done it on Game 7 of the finals, because they have
Right.
too much to lose.
They would have too much to lose. I mean, at this point, and it's not to shame these guys, but at this point, the NBA season really, like everything else, is in shambles because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So, are they really losing anything by doing this? Well, yeah, they are. They may lose a check, and as well as the owners are going to be hurting from something like this, because they obviously had money invested in this. And when it gets postponed, or from what LeBron James is saying, he made it clear. I'm looking at the article right now. He said it's not postponed. We're boycotting. So, okay, well, I just want to know how long it's going to last. If they're going to boycott it, I'm with them. But who's going to follow suit? Will the rappers follow suit? Is this something, though, that Shawn, this is a perfect thought. Maybe this is the time that they could get their own NBA league. And by that, I mean break away from the current NBA and form their own players association league, where they have their own rules, where they're not fined for speaking out against bad calls by officials. Because I never understood the fact that you couldn't criticize a referee without getting punished. If they did something so egregious. The NFL, they'll do it if they find you, if you speak ugly about them. Same thing with the NBA. The other issue, of course, if you own your own NBA or NFL, you don't have to worry about owners kicking you out because you protest. Like a Colin Kaepernick, if you take a knee and things of that nature. Do you think this might be an opportunity that they would use for that advantage?
I think it would be a good time for an opportunity, but I doubt that they would try to open up their own league because a lot of these guys are still under contract, and a lot of them don't want to risk losing the money that they've got right now because starting a league, it's a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. But I believe that they could eventually go and branch out into that direction if they wanted to, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to protest and try to get some concessions from the NBA because that's usually where they get their bread buttered. So I think they're going to try to just make a protest statement and then try to get some concessions, but that'll probably be about it.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't know if I need to play the rest of this video. I'll just go ahead because I was trying to play it earlier. But this is what LeBron said
How would you compartmentalize
on
all of this?
August 24th.
What's on your mind with all that's happening?
It's a wide range of emotions. Extremely proud of my team the way we played tonight. Extremely blessed and honored to be able to play on 824 and continue to remember Kobe Bryant and Gigi Bryant and all the fallen people that was a part of that tragic incident. And then at the same time having the emotions of going on and what happened outside Milwaukee. James Blake. Jacob Blake. I'm sorry, Jacob Blake. It's what we've been talking about. It's what we've been talking about. And it's what we're going to continue to talk about. Having two boys of my own. Having two boys of my own, African American, and me being African American in America, and to see what continues to happen with the police brutality towards my kind. Continue to see what goes on with the just the unjust. It's very troubling. It's very troubling. And we play a beautiful game, which brings so many great families together, and people be able to rejoice and enjoy it. But at the same time, never lose track of what's really going on in our world, especially here in America. So, my prayers go to that family, and hopefully we can have some change. And it starts with I believe it starts in November. That's why I started an initiative that I'm doing more than a vote, and getting people to understand what's really at risk, and the change that we continue to talk about change. We have an opportunity to make change, but it still doesn't stop there. Even with whoever comes next. So I don't know, Jared. There's a lot going on in my head. I appreciate it.
Well, we thank you. We'll leave it there, LeBron. Thank you very much.
Okay, so yeah, that was the video actually I wanted to talk with you guys about. So basically, when they talk about voting like that, Shawn, I think you can believe that it's basically to vote Democrat.
Well, I find that to be a really thing that's not going to help black people because we voted Democrat in the 90s. And what did that get us? That got us the prison industrial complex. That got us that Biden's law. So how is voting for a Democrat going to lead to change when the Democrats were the one who ushered in a culture that led to the imprisonment of black people and created a complex that imprisoned black people? And before that, we had your racial profiling from these police officers in many of these states, and things were not getting better for black people by voting for either of these two parties. So we're not getting any tangible as related to justice from either of these political parties, and voting for one over the other isn't going to change anything for black people. So voting really is not the issue here. This is about trying to change the culture, and changing the culture is not something we can do through voting. That is something we have to do, by demanding better of this country and demanding tangibles as related to justice, tangibles as related to policy, and tangibles as related to dealing with this blue culture, which is filled with white supremacists.
Yes, I saw recently, and I want to ask you this, but there's video circulating of Mr. Blake's mother and the father, and I don't know if you've seen those videos, but basically his father, Jacob Blake Sr., was on code, saying he trusted no white person in power to handle this case. Obviously, he was tore up by the situation. You have them now trying to change the narrative with them saying, he had a fight with the police officers and so forth. I still don't understand. don't get how anyone can justify those still, and they're going to have to account for this, the 8 shots that were fired in this man's back while this police officer had a hold on him.
I can't justify it myself, because when I saw the video, I mean, if this officer could grab this individual, he could have easily put a little speed on and tackle this man before he went for that vehicle. Usually part of police procedure is if a man is trying to get away from you, you try to use the least amount of force and you try to tackle that individual so that you don't have to take out the firearm. Now, I find it very interesting they had to go out here and shoot Jacob Blake in the back 8 times, but the white male, Kyle Rittenhouse, who shot and murdered 2 protesters, nobody had a problem trying to restrain your Kyle Rittenhouse. And I find that very interesting that this Kyle Rittenhouse was allowed to surrender. He was allowed to be able to do all of these different things, and he was taken in without any sort of incident
He was
at
allowed
all.
to walk around with that gun even
Yeah.
after he shot and killed these people. This was on Twitter, and I'm going to play that video for you guys to take a look at. But it seemed, even when I looked at the video, Shawn, that this guy was even giving, Tariq Nasheed pointed this out, he was actually giving hand signals to the police officers. So it seemed like almost that they were working together. I don't know that for a fact, but it just gave that appearance.
Yeah.
That these cops were working together with these race soldiers. This is a 17-year-old kid carrying around I shouldn't even call him a kid, but he's carrying around a fucking AR-15, which is a weapon that I have. And I'm not against people owning guns. We need guns. This is more time than anything for Black people to get their concealed carry permit. I can't stress that more than enough. I keep stressing that. But, marching and protesting, and there's supposed to be a march on Washington to commemorate the 60th, I don't know how many years, the 57th anniversary of the March on Washington from 1963. That was on August 28, 1963. What has marching done for us either? How much shoe leather do we have to waste that we're going to keep doing this? I saw Ben Crump talking about this, and Benjamin Crump is actually representing the Blake family. He's also representing, I believe, the Pelford family. A lot of people have, I've met him before, and I'm not going to say he's a bad guy, but a lot of people have criticisms of him because he doesn't win his cases. That's the main thing everyone says. But I, and I understand that aspect of what they're looking at. But, it seems like he's always the one that's out there handling those cases.
Yeah, it seems like he's out there, but the whole thing is that we're not getting any results, and that's the whole big problem with a lot of these incidents is we get no results, we get no change, and that's why people are so angry, is because we're not getting any sort of change as related to police conduct or policy that punishes these rogue officers. So a lot of people are angry because we want to see punishment, and we want these officers to follow the exact same laws that they are supposed to enforce.
Right. Well, I think all he does is just get a lawsuit, and and I think it came out with the Botham Jean situation.
Yeah.
And this family is up there. They're forgiving this shooter, this woman that killed their son, their brother, openly. You have a judge coming down from the bench giving a Bible, and it seemed like it was a big money hustle. They were trying to do that to get more money out of it. So, I know people that know Mr. Crump and so forth, but he's got, there are other young Black attorneys that can take over cases like this, and I think we need to see more of them. The community is not feeling them.
And the community isn't feeling them because we're not seeing any results. It's just like when Al Sharpton used to march and protest. Black people got fed up with Al Sharpton, and we have a right to fire these civil rights leaders, these attorneys, if they can't get results. I mean, we didn't appoint these people. We didn't.
Al Sharpton don't represent me.
So we should get rid of these people if they can't get results, because if they can't get us tangibles in terms of justice, tangibles in terms of reform, and tangibles in terms of policy, then we need to get rid of these people. When you're on a job, you're rated on your performance. And if you cannot produce or perform,
That's Kyle
usually
Rittenhouse, by the way. I'm sorry, Sean. I was telling everybody that's
attorneys, incompetent politicians. If they cannot serve the people, then we best serve them with a pink slip and send them on their way.
most definitely. And now this is another video. This is a video, I guess, of Tariq put up. He's screaming, "I just shot somebody." Here's some more.
Bullshit business, I get it. But you left the city open. But you know what I told us today? They were like, we're going to push them down by you can heal them. And then we're going to leave. See, and then as soon as they said, that's the shots fired, I had to like 60 it wasn't from you guys. Yeah. So like, we fucking, as soon as they said that bullshit to us, people hurt, oh, we're going
So he's saying that the police pushed him down that way.
But you left the city open. But you know what I told us today? They were like, we're going to push them down by you can heal them. And then we're going to leave. See, and then as soon as they said, that's the shots fired, I had to like 60 it wasn't from you guys. Yeah. So like, we fucking, as soon as they said that bullshit to us, people hurt, oh, we're going to
They look like the beta male suburban commandos.
Yeah. Rambo wannabe motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's what I call them, beta male suburban commandos. They only come out to fight. They're cowards, really. They only come out to fight in a group. They come out with their weapons. They really are a bunch of real cowards, and they're not really about trying to help people. All they want to do is take out an opportunity to take advantage of a situation. What they want to do is use these riots so they can have a justification to kill Black people and kill people on sides that they disagree with, like these so-called Antifa. It's really about them trying to find a way to have justification to participate in homicide, and they are a real danger to everyone.
Yeah. Squeaky G says, I know Ben, he puts his life on the line. Well, look, I know people that know Ben Crump too, but when you look at these situations time and time again, and I understand there's some things that may be out of his control. Like I talk with Dr. Randy Short all the time. You know, he obviously has his issues with him. He's like, don't say he can't do this and that, because Charles Houston, who was a powerful Black attorney back in the day, he actually, you know, went out of his way to help Black people, as well as Thurgood Marshall and others who actually not only put it on the line, they risked their lives as well. They actually, you know, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Houston, you know, they set up things in lawsuits so that, you know, making sure policies were changed. And so far, what we're seeing is a dog, and, you know, sometimes what I see, and it's not just necessarily with Ben Crump there, but even others where it may be a dog and pony show where they're just trying to get a quick settlement with some of these things. And I'm an attorney too. I know how it works. You know, and I'm not saying it's necessarily it's bad or he's a bad person, but the people in this community are just frustrated by what they're seeing. They're not getting any results. As Sean eloquently put it. Now, this was Tariq Nasheed. He put this up here. This is not my word.
Am I correct?
He tweeted this.
Three of them, yes. Three of Jacob's sons.
Now, this is Miss Blake.
How are they?
This is Mrs. Blake.
Tonight. As to be expected. And asking a lot of questions. They mistake their dad. They want to see him. And they tell me, Grandma, the police shot my dad. Yeah. And why? And I have no answers. How did your grandkids, if you know the answer to that, in general, feel about police before this happened? What were their impressions of police? Well, even with my children, when I was raising my children, I taught them as I was taught as a child, officer friendly. So I do that with my grandchildren as well. I can't really tell you how they feel inside at that age. They are very young. I want it to be known that I have the utmost respect for our police departments, and I don't believe that all police officers are monsters or anything like that. There's still bad apples in every walk of life, and people make bad decisions, and they have a horrible job, and it's scary. I get that. I just wish there was more training, more something that they would choose better and learn how to defuse a situation instead of shooting people when not necessary.
All right, that was his Miss Julia Jackson. That was Mr. Blake's mother. Let me address this with Squeaky G though. Squeaks, I got to say this to you. I disagree. We, and Shawn, you can chime in on it too. When it happens to one of us, it affects all of us. And family members, while they are entitled to grieve how they want, they have a right to feel how they feel. You know, they're not the ones that lead the movement either. You know, a lot of people when after the Botham, especially after the Botham John situation, when I saw what happened there, after the trial took place and the whole forgiveness thing and pandering, it left a real bad taste, not only in my mouth, but in all of Black America's mouth. A lot of people across the country, a lot of Black people across the country that are looking at that, because here we're putting our time and effort to try and get precedent set so that when these people kill one of our own unjustly, that they will face retribution. They will face justice. That's what our criminal justice, that's why it's titled the criminal justice system. That's the purpose of it. So when we see that, and then there's no results being put in, and women can walk away, these killers can walk away from situations like that, then where does that leave us? Because when you look at Botham John's situation, that was a perfect example. Botham John, you know, this was his family is from the islands, right?
Yeah.
They can leave. We can't. We can't just go anywhere.
And the whole thing with Botham John's family is that put every other Black man's life at risk. He wasn't thinking about, again, like you said, the legal precedent and their actions, because when they did that, they trivialized the life of Black men all across this country. This conviction of Amber Geiger was supposed to set a precedent as related to setting that boundary as related to how Black men would be treated in this country. And when you have people talking about forgiveness, it is devaluing the life of that Black man. But that goes back to what I was saying about how the world is different for Black men than it is for Black women. And I've said this in numerous videos, that when it comes down to a Black man, he has to understand that the world is going to see him differently. And that was shows when you look at I keep forgetting the guy's name who got shot. But
Jacob Blake?
Yeah, Jacob Blake's parents. I mean, if you look at the father and the mother, the father is angry and outraged because he understands that what happened to his son could happen to him. But the mother is thinking about this pseudo-Christian religion and forgiveness because she doesn't run into the same racism that a Black man runs into. So she doesn't understand that when a Black man goes out here, there's a target on his back practically the minute he walks outside the door. I mean, he's got enemies all around him, whether it be Pookie and Ray Ray, or these Black women in the neighborhood, or these foreigners, or these braced soldier police officers. This Black man knows that any day he steps outside of here could possibly be his last day on this earth. And a lot of these people don't understand that when you talk about forgiveness, these people don't want to forgive a Black man. They don't see a Black man's life as having any value. They don't see a Black man's life as mattering. They still see a Black man the way the slave owners saw them as 3/5 of a person and not even a human being. They see him basically like an animal. They could shoot him and then just say, oh, it's just like killing a dog or something like that. It's just property. And they don't feel like that matters to them at all. So when you have people out here who are minimizing a black person's life, like the Botham Jean's parents or Jacob Blake's mother, it really sours it for black men, because we're trying to fight for our lives and we're trying to fight to show people our lives matter. But when you have people out here and they devalue a black man's life, it sets back all of the hard work we're trying to establish to get justice and tangible justice and legal precedents that will enable a black man to be able to have an equal part in the society.
Squeaky G says, so if a cop kills your kid, then you want someone else to handle it for you. I want you to answer that, Shawn, but I want to answer it as well after. Let me answer it first, Squeaky. What you think I would do, brother, if somebody killed my child? What you think I would do? I can't, because I'm an attorney, I can't obviously say what I can't obviously condone violence publicly, but there ain't enough money in the world that could stop me. You use your imagination. Use your imagination. That's all I'm going to tell you. Because if that were didn't even have to be my child. If it were my brother, if it were my father, I wouldn't be out talking about love and I'm not saying you can't believe in those things, because I do believe in forgiveness. And even in our faith, and I believe Shawn, from my understanding, I believe Shawn is Christian because he talks about the Most High God and so forth. Shawn, I don't know what faith you prescribe to.
Well, I believe in God. I believe in Christ. And so I look at it this way, and I would want somebody competent to try to bring me justice. Now, if that person is out there and is looking to help me get justice, yes, I'm going to go work with that person. So when he says, what would you do? I mean, you can't sit there and get emotionally attached to people like Benjamin Crump. If they're not getting results, then how do we go out here and deal with this? I mean,
right. And he's saying, Squeak is saying, well, he and his family get multiple death threats daily. So did Johnny Cochran. When Johnny Cochran represented O.J. Simpson, he got more death threats than O.J.
Yeah.
He got more, but Johnny was about that justice. He put in that work.
And that's what we're looking for, the tangible of justice. We're looking for.
I'm sorry.
We're looking for. Okay. You go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But we're looking for the tangible of justice, and we're looking for a competent person to get us that tangible of justice. And if this guy can't do it, then we need to replace him with someone who can. We can't sit there anymore and deal with the Al Sharptons and these others out here who talked a good game during the civil rights era and got us no results. I mean, we've been sitting there for 30 years, 40 years of black men being shot by the police, and we get the same result over and over again. The definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. And if a guy is starting to get an 0-2, 0-3, 0-4 record, then we need to get rid of that guy and bring in another guy.
Right. Well, in fairness to Ben, I think Ben is primarily dealing with the wrongful death aspect of it and civil attorneys, but I understand that aspect of it, and it's not an easy job to do. But obviously, when you go back in the 60s, you look at what Johnny Cochran, not even the 60s, but you look at the 70s and 80s and 90s when Johnny Cochran was doing his thing. He was getting policy changes. He brought the entire Los Angeles Police Department to its knees in that O.J. Simpson case. That dream team that basically proved that these police officers were not only tampered with evidence, they framed someone, a famous black person at that much, whether he identified as black or not, or he was on the coon train. at the end of the day, you get that wake up call like everyone else. Looks like Michael Jackson got it, and Cuba Gooding Jr. is getting it. Bill Cosby gets it. Paul Mooney once said, everybody gets their wake up call. But Johnny, he put in that work, and certainly he's well missed now when I think of it, because is there, even me as an attorney, I don't know if I could ever fill a guy's shoes like that, or a Thurgood Marshall, or, they had to go, and Thurgood Marshall had to go through a lot.
Yeah. And they had to be persistent because they understood that at this point, if we don't do anything, it's going to be even worse if we do nothing. So these guys understood they had to come out here and do something. They understood that they had to take action, and they could not accept a loss. They needed to get results because they understood if we don't get some precedence with this court system, it's going to get worse. So they had no choice other than to push for results. A lot of today's people, they're willing to just get that attention. They're looking to get press, but we don't need press. We need tangible results.
Most definitely. Now, speaking of Al Sharpton, because you brought this up, I brought this up and I wanted to talk about it, but this is concerning Yusef Hawkins, which happened in 1989, if I'm not mistaken. 31 years.
It was 89. I was 16 at the time.
Now, if you know anything about Yusef Hawkins, for the audience, Yusef Hawkins was a teenager that was attacked by an angry mob of Italian Americans, youth. He was shot to death. He was also beaten up. And this happened in Bensonhurst section of Brooklyn in 1989. And it came out that one of the individuals that was in that mob was this person by the name of Patty Duke. Now, Patty Duke was fired from Hot 97, which is a very popular radio program in New York. I think it's also across the country, if I'm not mistaken. Just like the Breakfast Club. Is it somewhere like that? I've seen some of the stuff before.
Yes, probably like the Breakfast Club. So
yeah,
that's probably what happened. And this guy had been hiding behind the scenes for years, and then it finally came out that he was a part of that.
Now, this was an HBO documentary that came out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never seen it. I got to take a look at it. But that's Kathy Hughes. Let me turn it on. I don't know if this is the same. I don't think this is dealing with the same thing. Let me see. No, it's not. I'm sorry. So, it says Hot 97 fired executive Patty Duke after it was revealed he was among the mob that carried out the crime against Hawkins. It says here, Hot 97 via its Twitter account announced the firing of Patty Duke, real name Pascal Rauchi, after it was revealed that he was a member of the 10 to 30 reported white youth that attacked Hawkins. The connection was made via the HBO documentary Yusef Hawkins, Storm Over Brooklyn, and apparently Hot 97 did not know Rauchi was a member of the mob and promptly let him go. After watching HBO's Storm Over Brooklyn, Hot 97 was shocked and took swift action. Patty Duke is no longer employed by Hot 97. The March for Social Justice continues. I read the tweet featuring an image of Hawkins. According to Rousey's LinkedIn page, he began working for Hot 97's parent company, MS Communications, in 1994 and held the title of Commercial Production Director. Rousey was 19 when he and the mob attacked Hawkins, who was in Bensonhurst, to check out a used vehicle. Dallas Penn was one of the early voices to call out Rousey and his questionable past via social media and has continued to rail against Hot 97. This dude, Pascal Rauchi, spent a quarter century eating lovely from hip-hop after chasing a black kid down as part of a lunch mob, or I think he meant to
say lynch mob, but
yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a typo. We forgive you. We could have been given the story of Paul Pascal instead of Fuck's boy Patty Duke. Fuck's Hot 97s for snatching this win for this from the people and firing their longtime 26-year employee, Patty Duke. So he was actually, he produced, I think he produced Angie Martinez show, if I'm not mistaken.
Could have at the time, because that was a big show at the time.
Okay. So basically this guy, 26 years with that company, off of which basically produces hip hop, which is black music, black culture, and he participated in one of the grisliest lynchings in New York history.
Well, that's kind of ironic when you think about it, and it's very troubling that this guy got a pass for so many years, and even more troubling that these producers at one of the top hip-hop stations gave this guy a complete pass as related to the murder of Yusef Hawkins, because I believe that somebody there had to know that this guy had done this. I mean, for this guy to actually, because a lot of these white guys, they will cover for each other, so somebody had to know for years that this guy did this, but they just kept it real quiet so that this guy could continue to work and have a job, because when it comes down to white supremacists, they always look out for each other and they always try to protect each other. And that's what happened in this case. And the whole thing is that we have all of these so-called civil rights leaders, and this happens right on their watch. And it happened for, again, over 25 years. This guy just slipped under the radar. And it's really, it really makes them look bad, because while they were trying to get justice for Yusef Hawkins, this race infiltrator infiltrated this radio station and practically was sitting there right in front of them in plain sight.
Yeah, there's Al Sharpton there. At the time, diet and exercise was not in his vocabulary.
Yeah, and he practically
sideburns.
He practically failed, because how could this guy get past him? And that's the critical question I have to ask. How could this get past all of these civil rights leaders, all these pastors, all these people? I remember in '89, they were all marching and protesting in Bensonhurst. But 4 or 5 years later, this guy gets right by them. And again, an embarrassment to them, because they let this happen.
Well, let me ask you this. What's going to happen now? Is Patty Duke going to be facing charges?
I doubt he will face charges, because statute of limitations is practically over.
There's no statute of limitations on murder.
Well, not on murder, but in that case, the only person who was charged with murder was Joey Fama, and he's right in 25 years. Keith Mondello was, I think, paroled or after serving about a decade of his sentence. So there weren't that many people convicted. Only Joey Fama got the conviction for murder, because he was the one who had the weapon. And I think this guy, they're probably going to try to say statute of limitations ran out. But the whole thing is that if he was a part of the mob and this got past Al Sharpton, this man was able to go to work like this, again, it's an embarrassment. Again, it shows a failure of black leadership.
Al Sharpton, I mean, well, look, I've never liked Al Sharpton, like talking about it. I thought he was an opportunist. He certainly is. You know, when he got in the White House, especially with Barack Obama, you know, he was actually invited more times, I think, than any other black leader to the White House outside of Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King Jr. This guy, and, you know, he would block off certain people from, I guess, coming from there. Valerie Jarrett was the same way. You know, they shitted on Dr. Cornel West, although I've been critical of Dr. West lately, because, you know, they don't stand up. You know, he takes one step forward and 2 steps back with some of the things that they're saying. It's just like, I'm not even paying attention to them. So, yeah, but Al Sharpton, yeah, most definitely, if Al Sharpton knew about this, and maybe we can find videos. I'm pretty sure Al Sharpton has been a guest of Hot 97. I'm sure he's been on those radio stations, especially when Sean Bell happened.
He was probably on there on the regular, but the whole thing is, he had to have seen this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, ain't that something?
That's what makes it embarrassing. I mean, if he's on these radio stations, he had to have seen him and known about something about him. And for him to get by, it's just again embarrassment.
But you know how Al Sharpton how he came into mainstream success.
Yeah, I've heard the stories about him being an informant.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but that's true. He was an FBI informant ratting on a mob with stuff, but I've heard of that, him being involved with the mafia, with with Don King and so forth. I've heard stories about that, but that's actually not where I was going to go. I was talking about James Brown, actually. He was associated with James Brown in the 70s, and when James Brown was performing on Soul Train, let me see if I could pull that. I know, man, we've been over, time is flying. Let me see if I could pull up that clip. But Al Sharpton was introduced by James Brown on Soul Train. So let me see if I can find it right quick. I can't. Let me see if it's here. Let's see if.
The man in the middle of the Howard Beach and Tawana Brawley cases is again the center of controversy. Bob O'Brien says the Reverend Al Sharpton is now accused of not paying taxes and stealing $250,000 from a charity group.
Al Sharpton faces a 67-count indictment in Manhattan that accuses him of diverting hundreds of thousands of dollars to his personal use.
That's not it, though.
Grand larceny and false business records to solicit funds from such diverse contributors as Don King, the boxing promoter, and Don Trump, the billionaire.
So this is, I gotta say this. This isn't the video that I wanted, but you heard that there. You're like, he solicited stuff from both Donald Trump and did he say Don King?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys used to work together, man. Now he's protesting Donald Trump.
That's what's backwards.
Ugh. Okay, I can't. Unfortunately, I can't find. I can't find that video if it's here. I don't own the rights to this. Okay, so let me turn it off before I get hit with a copyright infringement thing. But yeah, but Al Sharpton was definitely, if you go look that up, this reminds me of the Living Color sketches that they used to do on Al Sharpton. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Al Sharpton. Sorry. So okay, yeah, but that's why it's ass backwards, man. But yeah, that was interesting what you said about Yusef Hawkins. I mean, you were a teenager just like him at that time.
Yeah.
So that could have been you or anyone else. Yeah. So was it really at that time, were your parents, I guess, discouraging you from going out and so forth, or?
Well, I had an incident where I got attacked on the train that discouraged me from going out, and it was really rough out there. And you had black kids going out here committing crimes. You had mobs of kids going out here attacking people. And it was a crazy time because the crack epidemic had led to many kids growing up without any parental structure or supervision. And people were just going crazy at that time. Late 80s, early 90s, New York City had practically turned into a war zone. And it was not a good time for anybody out there. I'll tell you that much. I mean, you practically wanted to get in the house at a certain hour before it got dark because that's when all the dope dealers and the crazies would come out, and you'd practically be unsafe for you to be out there.
Yeah, man. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, New York in the 80s, it was crazy with some stuff because you had Bernie Getz.
Yeah.
And you had this incident and Tawana Brawley, which was another one. Al Sharpton was a part of that one as well. Not Jesse, but I remember Bill Cosby actually put up money for Tawana Brawley, if I'm not mistaken, in the 80s. So to find out what happened, he was very vocal about that.
Yeah, but the whole Tawana Brawley thing was a complete hoax. It was a hoax. It was a farce. I mean, yeah. Al Sharpton made a big circus out of it, but it was nothing. And I remember buying a newspaper when I was going to high school at the time. I was 14. I was buying newspapers every day, reading about it, and it was just one big circus. And we never got to the bottom of everything. And even as a kid, I knew Tawana Brawley was lying because she's sitting there talking all of these things, and the details just aren't adding up. And it sounded to me like she went out here and got with some guy, and then her parents found out. And in order to protect the guy, she decided to come up with this lie talking about white cops and white people and all this sexual violence, when in actuality it was probably she hooked up with some dude and didn't want her parents to find out that she was sexually active.
Okay, so Squeaky said Ben and I were in Tallahassee together, same fraternity. That's why I know he's not like Al Sharpton. That's his frat brother. So I don't know if you want to say anything, Shawn.
I don't know. I'm not even going to get into that because he's in his emotions about this guy and he can't think critically about him. So I'm not going to get into it.
Well, look, I'll just say this. I've met the man. Like I said before, I met the man. He's a nice guy. I took a picture with him. I shook hands with him. I can't say what he's like personally. All I can go on is what I've seen, publicly and what I know from talking to people in the streets. And yeah, Squeaky is a good dude. Squeak says I'm biased. Yeah, you are. But, I wasn't impressed. A lot of people are not impressed with the results. And even me, I have questions about it. And that's a right to criticize. It's like somebody would criticize me, I guess, if they felt I wasn't doing great at stuff. That's their right. But I understand he's defending his friend and so forth. So that happens. I have seen Tariq Nasheed's breakdown of some things that Mr. Crump was associated with. I won't get into that, but that was really piqued my interest. But he also said Brawley was an embarrassing situation. It was. I don't even remember that. That was in 88 or 89. I was a baby at the time. So
yeah, I was 14 when Tawana Brawley came out, and I was 16 when this Yusef Hawkins incident transpired. I was a teenager during the time of the big events: Tawana Brawley, Yusef Hawkins, and the Central Park Jogger. Those were three big ones,
right?
And they were a major part of history. And I was in the city at the time, so I know all about what happened. And I know how the crack epidemic practically shaped all of those events.
Right. Damn interesting. Look, last thing I want to talk about, I did want to talk to you about two other things, but I don't know if you have to go, but I did want to talk about this. And tonight is the Republican National Convention, as you know. I don't know if you saw this, but I wanted to show everyone this. This was the first night of the DNC. And again, I don't own the rights to this song, to this video. All of this is under fair use as a disclaimer under the Copyright Act of 1976, Section 107. So I just wanted to play this, but this was the first night. This was the ending of the first night of the DNC. You guys can is the audio on or they muted it?
Audio's on.
Yeah, but I can't hear it.
There's something happening here.
Let me see something.
But it ain't exactly clear.
Yeah, I can't hear that. Hold on. Did y'all hear it?
I heard it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me put my headphones on. Maybe that's different. Yeah, I can't hear shit. Excuse my language. Let me see if everyone else can hear it. But y'all can hear the song. You can hear the song clearly.
Yeah, I can hear this minstrel show.
Yeah. You just look at the comments.
Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going.
Yeah, because I can't. And you see the people that are tweeting support about this. Shawn, I don't know if you took a chance to look at this in between editing your book, but, of course, they have the DNC convention last week, and that's Steve Stills, by the way, that's performing with Billy Porter, who wrote that song. Tonight is the RNC. What did you think? I guess I'm gonna just ask you. I heard a little bit, so I already know what you think. But you want to elaborate more so everyone could hear?
Well, basically, this is a certified minstrel show, and it's just embarrassing to watch a black man degrade himself like this. But this is par for the course with your Billy Porter, an effeminized, emasculated male who he doesn't see how he's just being made into a laughingstock by the left. And if this is what they think a black man or represents a black man, it shows us how little respect they had for us. I didn't watch the DNC convention because I knew it was just a complete farce as it related to black issues. Your people on the left really aren't serious about offering any tangibles to black people. They're not really serious about dealing with black issues, and they're not really serious about black concerns. And this showed by the way they treated us. And if this was night one, they have this effeminate man here, and he's just putting on a minstrel show. It shows us how little respect they have for black people overall. And we really need to look at that and see how they see us as a joke.
Yeah, I thought it was ridiculous that he came out there, like a gay Batman with that shit on. He just think of this though, Shawn. Where did Billy Porter come from? Because I've seen videos. I've seen a video of him from back in the 90s, and dude can sing. He was singing a song, love song about a woman, by the way, that was in the video. I don't know if you've seen that, but I mean, it was complete polar opposite from what you see today versus what you saw 20 years ago. And I think he's being put up there with by the DNC as being made as a joke. They're not offering any tangibles. One thing I can tell you that the RNC has done is that they have had a mixed crowd of blacks that have come up there. They have had Hispanics. They have had white. It has been more, I guess, a little bit diverse, although you may not agree with the politics. And of course, you can say that these people are being used. I'm finished.
All right. Well, when I look at the DNC, they just do not respect black people. But I'm not a fan of the RNC either, but at least they are actually showing us black people and people of different races. And again, when we see a black man, he's a black man. We see a black man acting like a man. We don't see him being made into a joke. But Billy Porter, when I look at it, he's probably looking to make an image that would appeal to these Hollywood types. Because if he was a singer 20 years ago, the reason why they probably did not push him was probably because he was, his sexual orientation. And that probably was the reason why they didn't push him 20 years ago, because the music business was completely different. But these days, they could push him as this alphabet type character. And this alphabet type character is something that allows them to check off the diversity boxes. And that's why they're pushing him right now, is because he fits into these diversity boxes and he fits the narrative they want to see for black men. They want to see this emasculated, effeminized, homosexualized caricature. And that makes many of the people in the music business happy, because it fits their idea and ideal for what they want to see in a black man. And it allows them to passively present their diversity while aggressively emasculating the black man and putting a clown image up there.
Right. And speaking of which, just to balance it out, here's Herschel Walker's 2020 Republican National Convention speech, if you want to give your final thoughts on it.
But I'm also a father, a man of faith, and a very good judge of character. I've known Donald Trump for 37 years. And I don't mean just casual ran into him from time to time. I'm talking about a deep personal friendship. I watched him as an owner of a professional football team. Right after he bought the team, he set out to learn. He learned about the history of the team, the players, the coaches, every detail. Then he used what he learned to make the team better. I watched him in the boardroom. He could be in the middle of a big meeting, but if one of the kids was on the phone, he dropped everything to take the call. He taught me that the family should be your top priority. I watched him treat janitors, security guards, and waiters the same way he would treat a VIP. He made them feel special because he knew who they were. He understands that they are the people who make this country run. They clean, they cook, they build, they drive, they deliver. He told me, Herschel, make an effort to get to know people. Remember their names. That's up with me. And to take his kids to Disney World. I plan to take his kids to Disney World with my family. Donald said he'd like to join us. Donald said he'd like to join us. So they was in a business suit. It's a small world ride. It's a small world ride. That was something to see. That was something to see. It just shows you what a caring, loving father he is. It hurt my soul to hear the terrible name that people call Donald. The worst one is racist. I take that as a personal insult that people would think I've had a 37-year friendship with the racists. People who think they don't know what they're talking about. Growing up in the Deep South, I've seen racism up close. I know what it is. And it isn't Donald Trump. Just because someone loves and respects the flag, our national anthem, and our country, doesn't mean they don't care about social justice. I care about all those things. So does Donald Trump. He shows how much he cares about social justice in the black community through his actions. And his actions speak louder than stickers or slogans on a jersey. He keeps right on fighting to improve the lives of black Americans and all Americans. He worked night and day. He never stops. He leaves nothing on the field. Some people don't like his style, the way he knocks down obstacles that get in the way of his goals. People on the opposing team don't like not ran over them either, but that's how you get the job done. I pray every night that God gives him more time. Give him 4 more years. He has accomplished so much almost all by himself on a constant attack. But there's still more work to be done. If you love America and want to make it better, Donald Trump is your president. He's my president. And I'm blessed to call him friend.
Okay, Herschel Walker. And again, my thoughts again, I've told people don't take celebrities seriously when they make endorsements. Herschel Walker was a great college football player back in the day. He played in the NFL briefly. I don't think he had great success in the NFL as he did college football from my recollection. But just Shawn, if you want to give your quick thoughts on it. I know you said you don't care for either.
Well, I don't care for either candidate, but when I look at the presentation of the DNC and that clown they put in front of us as a black man and compare it to Herschel Walker, I mean, when you look at the image, it shows you that at least on that side, they understand, they present you a black man, and they present you a responsible black man who is a father. They present you a black man who is a leader. They at least present you with an image of black manhood and black masculinity. And that's really interesting because, again, on the left, that is supposed to be the side of tolerance. They give us an effeminized black male. I'm not even going to call him a man. And they promote this alphabet agenda as related to black people. But on the right side, we see an image of a heterosexual black man. Now, that shows you, again, how people are being perceived. And again, I find it quite troubling that the left wants to talk about tolerance, but we see how intolerant they are, because we look at their convention, there was not one heterosexual black man being presented on their platform or their stage, and we're not seeing any sort of heterosexual black man or black manhood being represented in any of their speeches. I mean, they practically ignored black men. I mean, the RNC, I don't really like them, but at least they gave us a picture of black manhood. Right. And they gave us a picture of a black man as a leader and a family man. And they gave us
make a joke out of it.
And they didn't make us into a joke. So, I mean, a lot of people have been saying that, Trump has helped a lot of black people indirectly. and that the black unemployment has been at all-time low. And again, here we have an image that really solidifies why a lot of people don't want to deal with the left, is the way they just made a joke out of a black man. But here we have on the right a black man actually being shown as a black man. And what really, again, I don't care for either party because neither party is offering black people tangibles, but at least on the right side, we at least see some sort of effort at representation of black men.
Most definitely, and I can agree with that because I thought the DNC the whole night was a joke. When Kamala Harris accepted her nomination, I got to tell you something. I got attacked because I mentioned the fact that, or I got criticized rather, I guess, if I want to play it safe, because I noticed that in her nomination speech, she talked about her standpoint of her mother, and she came from the standpoint of an immigrant. You know, she never mentioned her father in that speech, and I brought that up just curious, and I was inundated with comments from people like, why don't you mind your business? Why don't you shut up? Why does that matter to you? That's her story. You know, and it was from that little clique, you know, that clique, you know, who so caught up in the fact that, you know, she's the first black woman that's going to be nominated for vice presidency. She's an AKA, she's a Howard graduate. And I'm like, what does that have to do with her role as vice president? Her policies that she didn't enforce when she was attorney general in California, you know, things of that nature. We get caught up in so much symbolism instead of thinking outside the box from time to time that it's hurting us.
Yeah, because the whole picking of Kamala Harris was designed to manipulate black people. It was designed to divide us. It was designed to have black women get caught up in their emotions about so-called representation, but not understanding what this woman represents and what her track record is. All they're caught up in is the symbolism of this black woman and what she supposedly represents, not understanding this so-called black woman has gone out of her way to hire Indians to work for her first. And that shows that she is not about black issues or supporting black people. She hires Indians first. She sees herself as an Indian and wants to give Indians jobs, but doesn't want to help black people. So when I look at this, again, this is about manipulating the black masses into believing something. And sadly, many black women are buying into it because they identify with the Kamala Harris and they identify with it from a covert contract standpoint. It's like what I talked about with this Meghan Markle. They only claim her because she's involved with white power and white men. And if she was involved with a black man, as part of a black man's team, these same black women would disavow Kamala Harris and say she wasn't black. And she really isn't black when you really think about it. She's not an ADOS black American, and she's not really a person who would be considered even black when you consider her whole connection to her heritage. Yes, she went to a HBCU, but she really is not really wanted anything to do with black people until it was time to run for president. And she only got involved with, again, this whole black part because it led to her trying to get to a larger audience. Because if she ran as an Indian, she would be practically crushed and nobody would want anything to do with her. But right. She wants to use black people. And again, because you have a large group of gullible black women out here, the gullible black women, they want to go along with this covert contract, thinking they're going to get something out of it as related to social status. But like Meghan Markle, at the end of the day, they wind up with nothing but egg on their face because these so-called quote-unquote black women wouldn't claim any of these women who are trying to rally behind her.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, and damn, you know, with the HBCU, shit, when I went to Southern, they had whites that attended there. There are whites that go to Southern Law Center. There's just as many whites that go to HBCUs now than black people because the education is cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, it's cheaper. Hell, pretty soon, colleges and universities may be obsolete, and you might have to go to community college because most people are going there now because they can complete their they can complete their goals, their get their degrees necessary in their field. So going to HBCU, that's great, but that's not something impressive to me. Okay, you went to Howard, great. Okay, you're an AKA. Okay, I get that. I know a lot of people in those fraternities and sororities as well. But the question is, when you want a job, am I just going to hire you because you're a member of the Divine Nine?
Well, that's what they think they can do. Yeah. They try to get hookups based on their frat and stuff like that.
I want to answer two questions. Farside asked on yesterday, RNC, how did I like the naturalization ceremony by Trump? I didn't see that part. I did see when the Secretary of State spoke from Israel, which was basically a violation of his own order. Well, not basically, it was a violation. I saw that part. I saw Melania Trump. I was listening as I was working to her speech, although it was a miracle. I understood what she was saying from time to time. But let's see. Farside asks, if you say Kamala wants nothing to do with Black people, then why did she attend an HBCU? Shawn?
What was the question again?
Farside asked if Kamala wants nothing to do.
Well, that was all about symbolism. You see, a lot of times women like Kamala Harris will go to an HBCU because they want to get credentials and they want to use those credentials to move themselves forward. And the whole thing is she went to that HBCU to get credentials for being quote unquote Black so that she could find work otherwise, because the Indian community, they weren't going to accept Kamala Harris. The Indian community, when they see somebody who was mixed like Kamala Harris, they want nothing to do with them. So Kamala wanted to go over to the place where she could get the most support. And she knew that the Black community, because we have no standards, would practically accept her. And that's why she went over to the Black community. She really wants nothing to do with us. If she could get into the Indian circles, social circles, and be accepted, she would have dropped us a long time ago. I mean, this is what this woman is all about. She wants to be with white people, and that shows from the husband she married, and it shows from the people in her social circles. Again, look at who she hired when she got into a position of power. If she wanted something to do with Black people, she would have hired Black people. But the two people she hired after she got her vice presidency were two Indians, and then she hired an alphabet Black person, but she really did not hire anybody from the mainstream Black community.
Yeah, I certainly would not have, and then look at her record.
Yeah.
And I certainly have looked at it. Her record as Attorney General was just abysmal, because I see Squeaky saying Kamala is all right, but she's been desensitized to the prison industrial complex. Kamala had an opportunity to prosecute or at least sue one of those banks that was out there, One West Bank, that was run by Steve Mnuchin, who's the Secretary of the Treasury. And that bank was one of those large banks that was single-handedly responsible for the seizure of Black homes. They foreclosed on those homes. She had an opportunity to prosecute those people. She did not do it, despite the fact that the California Justice Department said they found, and I'm paraphrasing here, but woeful misconduct on part of One West. So she had an opportunity to do that. Mnuchin actually gave money to her campaign, from my understanding, as both an attorney general and as when she ran for Senate in 2016 or 2012, if I'm not mistaken. 2012, excuse me. He gave monies to her. She opposed his nomination for the Secretary of Treasury. So when I look at that and I take a critical examination of her record, even as a prosecutor, there's issues with her withholding evidence, those allegations that have come from that, what she did with the truancy. issue in San Francisco, you know, I have problems with that. And you got to look at someone's record, because when you're a prosecutor who never spent time as a defense attorney, so they don't know both sides, she's going to be looking at criminal justice and social justice from one point of view.
And it's a very narrow point of view. And again, we look at her record, it's not very favorable to Black people. So when we look at Kamala Harris's record, it's one filled with her participating in just the complete oppression of Black men, especially. And then we look at her, the things that she's done, like you discussed, and they just show how unethical this woman is. And to give this woman more power would be extremely, as I see it, more dangerous than Donald Trump is right now, because this woman would go out here and she would participate in serious violations of our Constitution. And if she became president, heaven forbid, if Joe Biden, something happens to him, I believe she would wind up getting impeached, because she would really participate in some truly egregious crime. Because we look at her past performance and how unethical she is, there's no telling what she would do to the country. And that's something people need to think about, instead of just getting caught up in their emotions about their race. They really need to take that critical examination of this woman's record, because this woman's record shows why she's just not qualified to be even anywhere near the White House or anything as related to the executive branch of the United States of America.
Yeah. AW asks, Shawn, what's your thoughts on the Black Boule? Are they for the Black community or just for self?
Well, when it comes down to the Black Boule, they have always been for self. And that was shown to us by Ralph Ellison in his classic novel, Invisible Man. It was shown to us in E. Franklin Frazier's Black Bourgeoisie. And it was also shown in the book, Our Kind of People. The Black Boule are a buffer class that are designed to keep Black people from getting any sort of tangibles from the government, and any sort of tangibles as related to getting equal opportunity and equal access and economic access. These elite Blacks, what they do is erect a wall, and that wall is supported by white supremacy. And what they use is passively use these guys to say, oh, they have achieved success, but aggressively they use them to keep other Blacks from being able to move forward. So passively, they'll sit there and say, oh, this Black Boule member is a success, and why can't you do it? But aggressively, what they do is prevent other Blacks from being able to come up, because the Boule members, what they do is they create this wall to keep other Blacks out, and they use that wall to prevent Blacks from being able to advance and build economically in this country. So the Black Boule, they are not good for the Black community. They're just out for themselves, and they're out to be that buffer class that allows themselves to get rich at the expense of other Black people. And they get crumbs from the white man's table and then talk about their success, but don't want to help anybody else move ahead.
Well, Shawn, let me ask you something. Just curious. I know you probably got to run. I don't know what your time is, but I appreciate you being here. Did you ever think of pledging in a fraternity or any of the social groups?
No, never thought about it. Never would want to. I mean, I would rather just sit here and work with Black people in the neighborhood or Black people in the community, because I had a chance to work with one of these Boule guys when I was working in AmeriCorps, and they don't really care about anything. All they want to do is elevate themselves at our expense. So I've seen these guys in action. I've seen the way they behave. I've seen the way they treat people. They come as condescending. They talk down to people. They think that they're so much better than everybody else. And one of these guys was one of the reasons why I wasn't able to get a job after my term at AmeriCorps was over. So I was denied employment opportunity even after doing such great work for this nonprofit. And it was all because this elite guy decided I wasn't going to be what he said. I can't remember, but he had said something that there was no place for me in their organization. So this is what these elite Blacks do. They try to kick you out and then bring their guys in, and they all they think about is themselves, not helping to build up another Black man or build up another black person. It's all about them having their fiefdom and all about them having this power that they think over the black community given to them by these white supremacists.
Yeah. I have associates and friends who are in, the Divine Nine, and I know people that are in the Boule. I know Dr. King was actually in Boule, from what I read. So he might be the exception that you're talking about, though. But in regards to what you're describing. But it's just an interesting thing. I know that we have a lot of black, I guess you want to call it the black elite or so forth. You wonder, what do they do for the community? A lot of people ask those things, a part of that. And I mean, at this point, like, again, I don't think we should be looking at people to come and save us. We have to do it ourselves. We can't depend on celebrities.
No, I never depend on them. I'm like, I just do this myself.
Yeah. Right. Well, do you have anything, Shawn, you want to plug in?
Well, not at all, except for talking about the upcoming Eastern Blast from the Past, which is coming out in November, and Eternal Night, which is coming out this Halloween. And you can pick up ISIS, the main event, now on paperback and Kindle Unlimited. And you can get John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose, on Amazon.com. You can also pick up my other books like The Man Crisis on Amazon.com. You can find all of those books on Amazon right now. I'm going to leave a link to them in the chat. You get all my books in paperback and Kindle format. And you can also find them on Smashwords and the iBookstore and Google Play. So that's that's the last thing I'm going to say. I just left the link in the chat. So that's all I'm going to do is promote my books one last time. So I really would appreciate it if you guys would pick up some of my books, because that really helps me pay the bills and take care of business. You can also donate to the Patreon and the Cash App too. So really want to thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. Someone, was it Farside, asked the last question. He said, Shawn, do you think there are also black Blu-rays working at government and city civil service jobs trying to keep other blacks down?
I'd have to say, yeah, there are some working there. But there are also other blacks working there who have the same mindset as the Boule too. A lot of these problems with the black communities, a lot of people think that they've arrived and they think that they want to play gatekeeper, and they don't understand that it's not your job to gatekeep, it's your job to help the next brother come up, because the more black people working somewhere, what happens is the way you can protect another black person from getting fired is by having more black people. But we have a problem with these boules at certain companies, and we have a problem with these bootlicks in civil service. I ran into that back in 2008, and all of them want to do is have their fiefdoms where they keep their friends in certain places. And then what they will do is, like when I was working at City College's library, science library, you have a union member not looking out for other black people, but elevating a Hispanic person to an officer position in the union. And what that Hispanic person did was probably replace all the black people, because all the black people left and the Hispanic people took over. So we wind up going out here and hiring our own replacements and not thinking about how that helps other black people. Because when a black man and a black woman hire another black man and prepare another black man or a black woman for a position, that allows those positions to stay black, and it allows those companies, people at those jobs, to stay black. But many of the boule and the elite, all they do is think about having their fiefdoms, and then what happens is we wind up not being able to stay employed, or another person doesn't advance in any way, shape, or form.
Right. I know, and I'll just say this too. I've stated the people that I know. There are some people I know that are in the boule. I know Masons and so forth that are real cool people. They're good, some good ones, but I do know there are a lot of bougie people out there in the world, in our community. You're damn right about that. That I guess get that feeling where they want to stop you from others from, I guess, moving up the, like I say, moving up the ladder. But I think it's also a territorial thing too, Shawn. I think that they're scared of losing their position. Sort of what you described. The movie, and I'm going to do a review on it. That movie, the 24th. There was a character in there. I won't give spoilers alerts, but there was a character in there who basically had that idea about one of the other characters in the movie. And you should check that out. It was about the Army regiment, the all-black Army regiment that was stationed out in Houston, Texas. I believe it was Camp Logan was the name of it. And that started the Houston riots of 1917. So you guys should take a look at that movie. But Shawn, I appreciate it as always. We always do this again so you can promote your books. Squeaky G says he will support you. Shout out.
Thank you.
John Haynes, pick up John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose. Far Side keeps asking questions. So Hispanics are taking all the city jobs away from blacks too.
No, they're not taking them. The whole thing is black folks are giving them to them, because when you have a black person who puts a Hispanic person in a management or officer position, what the Hispanic person does is hire more Hispanics or put the word in for more Hispanics. And that's how black people lose out on jobs, because we don't look out for each other and we don't put ourselves in positions of power. And that's how we wind up losing in the end, because we have especially a lot of black women who believe in this rainbow stuff, and they don't understand these people of other races aren't thinking about the rainbow. They're thinking about looking out for their own people and elevating their own people so they can build a community and an economic and political base.
Most definitely. Shout out to Squeaky G. He said, appreciate great discussion tonight, guys. Appreciate your time. Squeaky G, you are a moderator. I'd ask you guys, too, if you see that ticker at the bottom, to please support my channel as well at the Cash App, GavinRichardEsq, or GooglePay, Gavin.grich1@gmail.com. You see that ticker. Buy The Man Crisis by Shawn James, which is on Amazon.com. There's a Kindle version. Will there be a Kindle version of Eternal?
There's been a Kindle version. There's been a paperback version since day one. There's been multiple versions of The Man Crisis. You can get The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle on Amazon. I'm gonna leave a link to The Man Crisis in paperback. That's been there because the book is past 400 sales. So,
right. And you can
also get it on Google Play, and you can also get it on Smashwords. So you have plenty of options for The Man Crisis. It's one of the best-selling SJS Direct nonfiction books so far. I mean, I'm hoping to get 450 sales by the end of Christmas and possibly 500. And Chris is asking about Omega Baraku, which is the Indiegogo I'm working on as well. So that manga, you can pick that one up. And we're at the 54% point on Omega Baraku. We're trying to get to 35 days left. We're trying to get to that 100% mark. So we're trying to get this funded. So okay. I'm asking everybody to put in a pledge for Omega Baraku, the action-packed manga. So asking everybody, we're 54% on the flexible goal. So I'm asking everybody to put in a pledge who's here. I'm going to talk about it more on a live stream this Friday, hoping to get this past to 55, 60% with everybody's help, because this is a great manga, very positive images of black heroes, and I want to see it get funded.
Yes, most definitely. I actually contributed to that too as well, so I'm pushing for you. And I want to know too, is Eternal Night available for pre-order?
Yeah, the Kindle version of Eternal Night is available for pre-order. The Kindle version is available right now. I'm gonna leave a link to that in the chat. But the paperback version will only be available around October 27th, 28th, because Amazon's system doesn't have pre-orders for paperbacks. That's one of the drawbacks for working with Amazon, is they don't have pre-orders for paperbacks, but Eternal Night's Kindle is pre-ordered. You can pre-order it by clicking the link in the chat. So I left the link to the pre-order for Eternal Night in the chat for the pre-order if you want to get the Kindle version, but the paperback will be available this October near Halloween. I want to have it ready. I'm working on it right now. I've got the proof version. I'm going to be editing this for the next 2 months, and I'm hoping to get it to be the best quality it can be.
All right. Well, you guys heard it from Shawn James. He's going to make Eternal Night the best quality that it can be. It's going to be available in October if you want the paperback version, but the Kindle version is available for pre-order right now. Shawn, I thank you for joining the channel. Also, guys, you can check out Amazon.com and look up the book Katrina Eyes Have Not Seen, Ears Have Not Heard, written by yours truly, Gavin Richard. And we're coming up on the 15th anniversary of Katrina, by the way, which it's hard to believe. I was a teenager when all of that happened.
Wow.
Yeah, I was. You're about to say something, Shawn?
No, I was just saying, wow, it's 15 years.
15 years. And what a lot of people don't know, just briefly about that, I remember exactly where I was and what we were doing. Like I can tell you each day that weekend leading up to it, to the time it happened, where we were, and I can remember practically everything like it was nothing. Flashbulb memory. Friday I was out at the club with my friend. Then Saturday I'm at the pharmacy store with my dad. We were open half a day, and my aunt comes in the store talking about what we're going to do about this, because we would all leave as a family. Not just my parents and my brother, but also my grandfather, who was elderly and sickly at that time. We would all take a caravan with him, my auntie, my great auntie, and my cousin, and we would go west whenever there was a hurricane evacuation. We thought it would be nothing, because it had happened before. We always get these false alarms, and then we come back like a couple of days later. But I thought about it and packed up practically every important thing I could think of. My mom, who was real smart, took our pictures, took all of the pictures and so forth to make sure no water got in them. And luckily for her, they didn't, because otherwise it would have been flooded. And I remember that Monday, Katrina actually missed New Orleans. That's what a lot of people forget. It hit the Gulf.
Yeah.
What happened, and people have said that about the levees. I have reports from people who said they saw the levees being blown up. I know people who lived there, lived in a levee and heard explosions. I've heard that. I've heard about the barge coming in. And you read all about that in the book. So you guys could check that out. But it's definitely was a life-changing event. When I see this hurricane in Lake Charles, and I'm praying for everybody in that Texas, Louisiana borderline by Lake Charles, I'm really praying that everybody got out because it's like it's going to be real bad.
I'm praying for them. I hope they get out too.
Yeah, well, right now, if they didn't get out, it's kind of a little too late, because this is supposed to come the next 3 hours or so. So maybe it's not. Maybe they can they'd have to head north or west, but I don't want them to get stuck on the I-10 either. But yeah, so Shawn, I pray for them too. Hopefully they'll get out. But Shawn, thank you for coming on, man. You're welcome to come on anytime to plug in your book. And I'm going to pre-order Eternal Night right now. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the show.
All right, you're going to come back?
I'm definitely going to come back.
All right. Okay, I look forward to some more videos where you're laughing out loud.
That might be coming soon.
Yeah, like Jay-Z is greasy. You did that. Baron Samedi laugh. All right, Shawn.
All right. You have a good evening, and thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show.
Good night, guys, and this has been another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on channel GBoo2786. Please subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to my self-entitled YouTube page, Gavin Richard, and donate to the Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire, and Google Pay, gavin.jrich1@gmail.com. You can also email me if you want some new videos that I could create and produce for you. I'd be happy to do that. Guys, it's been a good night. I'll holla. Peace and blessings.
All right. Thank you.